This video is on prices. We're going to look at how demand and supply combine and how we come to prices in a free market. If we look at an example of a medium-sized coffee, so we have our schedule up here, a demand schedule and a supply schedule. So at all these different prices, this is how much people will demand. 1,000 people will demand a cup of coffee, medium-sized coffee at $1. And as we go down up in price, less people demand it. So it's a law of demand. The higher the price, the less people demand, less quantity demanded people will want to pay because they don't want to spend their money. And for supply, we see the law of supply go in the opposite direction. At higher prices, people want to supply more cups of coffee. If I produce coffee, if I thought I could get $3.50, I'll produce 900 cups of coffee. If I thought I could only get $1 per cup, then I'll reduce my amount because of profit margin. I won't make as much. There won't be as much incentive. I'll only produce 200 cups of coffee. So we look at graphing that on the XY graph. So let's see where we end up here. So if we look at what the equilibrium price, where do they agree? Well, we can kind of see it on here. It doesn't exactly show us on here because we only go in increments of 50. Equilibrium price is probably going to be somewhere in between here, in between $2 and $2.50. And we can see that on this graph, where these lines, as we graph it out at all these different points for both supply and demand, they meet at about roughly 225. And so consumers will want to buy 550 cups of coffee at 225, and suppliers would be happy to produce 550 cups at 225. So they come to equilibrium prices. Think about where there's a shortage from excess demand and where there's a surplus from excess supply. At any points in these graphs, if we look at, so for instance, for a shortage, if we were going to say the price would be, let's say 150. So we could follow this line over here at $1.50. We know that only 300 producers are going to supply cups of coffee, but at $1.50, 900 consumers will want to consume it or demand it. So we know that anywhere down here, we're going to end up with a shortage. I'll show that in the video. So on a graph, anywhere below the equilibrium price would be indicating a shortage because there's more people demanding whatever the product is, and there are people that want to supply it. We think of a surplus as the opposite. So we could say at any of these prices, there's more people that want to produce it than people that want to demand it. So these high prices, we know that more people want to produce than people want to buy. So for instance, if prices were at 350, 900 producers would want to produce it, and only 200 consumers would want to buy it. So there'd be a surplus of, if we were to charge 350, there'd be a surplus of 700 cups of coffee because more people are selling them than buying them. We see that on this graph shown up here. Any point above the equilibrium price would indicate there's a surplus. Look at a different example of slices of pizza, one we've looked at before. So all these different prices for a slice of pizza. We have the law of demand that as price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. And as price goes up, the law of supply shows that quantity supplied goes up. So if we were to graph that, let's see where we ended up. And you can see this amazing helper graphing it over here. But you can see on the supply and demand schedule that it's pretty easy to see where equilibrium price is here because we have 200 people demanding cups of slices of pizza and 200 people supplying slices of pizza at $3. They seem to be happy and agree at $3. It says 300, it's supposed to be decimal in there. But 300 at $3, that's where we find our equilibrium price. We think about some other things in here, concepts we've looked at. What happens to the demand curve if price of pizza is too high? So if we were to go from $3, we're at equilibrium at $3. If we were to charge $4, what would happen to the demand curve? The answer is nothing would happen to the demand curve. If we were at $3, all we would do is move along. If we were to say what happens at $4, we just move along the demand curve to the $4 mark and see that 150 people demand it, and at $5, that 100 people demand it. So whenever there's a price change, remember ceteris paribus, there's no change in the demand curve. We just move along the existing curve. But what could cause an increase in demand? So we think about what could cause at all these different prices, all these numbers would go up. Remember the shifters of demand. That could be income. If people were making more money, then more people would want to buy a slice of pizza at $6 because they have more money, and more people would want to buy it at $5 because they have more money, and so on. So if we had an increase of income across the board, then all these numbers would change and the demand curve would shift. I think of other things, population. If more people moved in, if there's more people, then there's probably going to be one or two of them that would be willing to buy a slice of pizza for $6. So the more people that come in, all these numbers are going to change. Demand's going to go up across the board. Maybe not equally at every price level, but it will go up across the board. Other things, consumer taste. If there was a study that said pizza was more healthy than, say, cheeseburgers, and more people want to eat pizza, all these numbers would change. That would shift the demand curve. Um, Other things like advertising, a celebrity were to promote something, promote pizza, then all these numbers might go up. If you had the price of a related good were to go up, so let's say these prices don't change, but because if we change prices, we're not moving, we're only moving along the line if we change the price of pizza. But if the price of tacos went up, which is a substitute good, so people that used to eat tacos now don't want to eat tacos because they cost too much, they might come over and start buying pizza, so all these numbers might go up too. All these things could cause a shift in demand. As you studied when we did demand, we're going to see a shift in the demand curve that shifts to the right. And as we've seen so expertly drawn on this video, if the demand curve shifts to the right, it's going to intersect the supply line at a different point. And if we follow that over, it says at $4, we're going to have people demanding pizza and people supplying pizza at an equal amount, which is looks like somewhere between maybe just under 250 or just before 250. But again, your price is going to go up when demand increases. When more people want something, if supply doesn't change at all, more people want it, the price will go up to meet that demand. Because if it doesn't go up, then there's going to be a shortage of that good. Which I thought was shown in that video, but apparently not. A shortage of that good would mean that it's figured that if demand goes up at all these different prices, more people will want the piece of pizza than there are people that would want to supply it. So let's say prices stayed at $3. And we are going to go over here and say that now at $3, 300 people demand a piece of pizza. But we know at $3, only producers only want to produce 200 slices of pizza. So if demand were to shift, then there would be a shortage. There would be 300 people demanding it, but only 200 people supplying it, so you'd have a shortage of 100 pieces of pizza at $3. So what does the supplier do? Well, they don't want people waiting in line and getting angry because there's not enough pizza and having to turn people away. So they raise their prices to $4. That means some of these people will go away. They won't come to get a piece of pizza, and we'll get back to equilibrium. The same amount of people that want to buy pizza will equal the same amount of people that want to provide pizza. If we look at what would happen with a decrease in demand, think about things that could cause a decrease in demand. People's income goes down. People move away from the from the area, so there's less people to buy it. The study comes out saying pizza is bad for you, or cause you to gain weight, whatever it would be. There would be less people demanding it. That would cause the entire line to shift to the left, and we would see the opposite happen here. Price would go down. There's less people demanding it. Price goes down to $2. So as the line shifts this way, we don't have any change in supply, but less people are willing to demand pizza at that price. If price were to say, imagine we were at $3, if price were to stay at $3, we'd have suppliers wanting to produce 200 pieces of pizza, but we'd have consumers at $3 are only going to want to buy 100 pieces of pizza. So we'd have extra pizza, we'd have a surplus of pizza. We have 100 extra pieces of pizza. So when suppliers realize demand's going down, so they don't end up with extra pieces of pizza and throwing it away, they want to be efficient, maximize profits, they lower their price, they get more people to buy their pizza so they don't have a surplus. If we look at how this would affect supply, so we got what would cause an increase in supply? Well, this gets drawn on the board, well, there's a bunch of things that could shift the entire supply line. Input costs could go down, so the ingredients of pizza could go down, which means I could make more profits. I have more incentive to produce more. Labor prices could go down. Technology could be invented that makes making pizza more easy or more efficient. Um, Prices of other related goods could also go up. So if I, you might think of as far as related goods go, someone maybe was making. Let's pause this for a sec. If someone was making burgers before, but they see that the people are buying pizza, they might jump into the pizza market, and then that's gonna increase your supply. You have more competition. All those things could cause an increase in supply, which would cause the line to shift to the right, which you see here. And if demand stays the same, we're going to see the price go from $3 a piece of pizza down to $2. It shifts because suppliers no longer want to supply as much, or they want to supply more pizza at all these given prices. So at $3, you look at that, suppliers maybe then would want to produce, looks like 300 pieces of pizza, but demand hasn't changed. They only want to buy 200 pieces of pizza. So you'd have a surplus of pizza. If supply were to increase, so they're going to make more pieces of pizza, but not more people wanted to demand it, you would end up with extra pizza, again, waste, they'd have to throw it away. So how do you solve that? You lower your price to a price that's going to get more people to buy your pizza, and you can sell more. And then on this, we'll see how you would draw a surplus. I didn't do that on the demand graphs because I forgot, but see up here where a surplus would be shown, you would draw a line from the original price to the new supply line, shade that in, and that would show where the surplus would be. And because of that surplus, or that either if we actually experienced a surplus or we anticipated it, we would lower our prices to get rid of that surplus to get back into equilibrium. But what would happen if we had a decrease in supply? So all those things could be the same thing. Prices of goods go up, or ingredients go up, labor goes up, people drop out of the market. All those different things. There would be more corporate taxes. It would take money out of my pocket as a producer, and I'd be less willing to buy or supply pizza. That could cause the entire line to shift to the left. So a decrease always goes to the left. We'd end up with a new equilibrium price. And you can see when demand stays the same and supply decreases, our equilibrium price goes up. And anytime you're asked to figure these things out, like on worksheets or in quizzes, you can just draw it out, draw your demand, your supply line, draw where price is, and move the line, the supply line left or right, depending on what the scenario is, and you can see the price going up. So we think about if supply were to go down, there'd be less supply, which means that people would be demanding a lot of it. So think it here at $3, we had 200 people demanding pieces of pizza. If supply were to go down because of any of those factors, it could cause the entire line to shift. Producers at $3 only want to supply, looks like about 100 pieces of pizza. There'd be a shortage of 100 pieces of pizza. So how do you get rid of the shortage? You increase your prices, equilibrium price goes up to $4, and we would draw that shortage on there. Again, you go from the original price to the new supply line, and that tells you where to shade in for the triangle, and that is a shortage. So shortages cause prices to go up, surpluses cause prices to go down. Last couple of things, if we look at things like price ceilings, and I usually do this with gasoline, but I picked toilet paper because that's relevant in the news today. If we are going to graph this demand and supply schedule of toilet paper, so let's see, pause this here. So under normal circumstances, for a pack of 6 rolls of toilet paper, the market seems to be in equilibrium at $5. It seems to be a fair price. To be honest, I can't remember if that's a fair price for 6 rolls of toilet paper or not. Let's say at $5, 15 million people wanted to buy it, and 15 million producers wanted to supply 15 million packages. They would be in equilibrium. They cross right at $5. That's our equilibrium price. If we think about similar, if what happens if the demand curve shifts, or if demand to the demand curve if demand increases. You see that on here. The line's going to shift to the right, and again, always when there's an increase, doesn't matter if it's demand or supply, an increase always is a shift to the right. And if that happens, we know that it's going to cause the price to go up. More people, well, maybe I forgot, very smart of me, I drew this first, right? So what that would cause immediately before price were to shift, we'd end up with a shortage. It'd be If we kept the price at $5, suppliers only want to produce 15 million packages, but consumers looks like they'd want to buy 22 million packages. There'd be a shortage. There'd be less toilet paper supplied at $5 than there are people that want to buy it because more people are demanding it for whatever reason. Think about those things that could shift demand, income, demographics, population. Any of those things might cause an increase in population demand for toilet paper. So we have to have a shortage, and to solve that shortage, so we don't have people waiting around to buy toilet paper, we would increase our prices. Now, this is under normal circumstances again, so we'd increase our prices to, what's that come out to? It's like about $6, and at $6, some of these people would stop wanting to buy toilet paper, and other people would still be happy buying toilet paper, and we'd reach equilibrium again. Now, I chose this because it's topical, but you might argue toilet paper is a necessity, so even if the price went up, people would still buy it, and we're certainly seeing that now. If we were going to say the government were to intervene, that's why I picked toilet paper. Some people say, well, why doesn't the government intervene and stop the prices from toilet paper going up and get us back into not so much equilibrium, but stopping people from raising prices? They could put a pricing ceiling on their government control. Let's say they were to put it at $4. We'd see this drawn up here. So on this price ceiling, if the government were to say we're going to stop toilet paper from going over $4 because people need toilet paper and the prices are going up, equilibrium price is at $5, and we know that any shaded area below equilibrium price, if I shade that, there we go. Any shaded area below equilibrium price would show a shortage. So how much toilet paper will people want to produce at $4? Well, we can look up here. They only want to produce 10 million rolls of toilet paper. So we could follow that down on this line and say that $10 million, that's what suppliers are willing to produce. But at $4, consumers want to buy 20 million rolls of toilet paper. We want to end up with a shortage of 10 million rolls of toilet paper. There'd be less toilet paper on the shelves because people or producers don't want to supply it at a cost to them that they don't think is worth the time to produce it. So one question is, so the effect this would have with the TP market is that there'd be a shortage. Does it benefit her consumers? Well, I guess a little bit of both. It benefits consumers that can buy it at $4, but it doesn't benefit consumers that can't get toilet paper because there's a shortage because producers want to supply 10 million rolls less or packages less than consumers want it. So it can be good and it can be bad. There's plus and minuses to it. If we look at minimum wage, we can graph this. So we're going to graph this data, all these different prices or wages that we pay workers. Think about demand. This can be confusing. The people that demand the labor aren't the workers. The people that demand labor are the employers. So if I have a business, I demand workers. I need people to run my business. The people that supply the labor are the workers themselves. So that can be a little bit, almost seem like the opposite sometimes when we look at demand and supply. But if we graph that, so let's see where. So we end up with a. If we were looking at these numbers and we graph it, it looks like our equilibrium wage is right in the middle of $7. It's $7.50. At $7.50, about 500, a little less than 500 workers would be happy taking that job, and there's about 400, a little less than 500 employers who'd be happy paying people. So we'd be equilibrium at $7.50, which is a little bit, I think, above minimum wage. So that's the equilibrium price. What would happen if the government were to put a price floor? So a price floor is another government control to prevent things from falling. So a price ceiling keeps prices from rising. So you think the ceiling's down here, it's stopping prices from breaking through that ceiling. A price floor is a limitation up here, stopping prices from dropping below that floor, so lowest it can drop. So we look at what would happen with a price floor if the government would say we're going to have $10 as a minimum wage. We know that everything above price then would create a surplus. When we think what a surplus, we're talking about a surplus of workers. There'd be See what, at $10 an hour, there'd be 1,000 people that'd be willing to look for jobs at $10 an hour, but there'd only be 100 businesses, or businesses only willing to hire 100. So you'd have a surplus of 900 workers, which usually isn't good either, right? So we can look at this. So if we have a surplus, then we have too many people looking for work because the price is too high. Employers don't want to pay that much for workers. They'll hire less workers. So think about what this does in the job market. Oftentimes, I'm gonna have you guys look into the minimum wage and write a paper on it. But when minimum wage or wages go up, it usually has a negative impact on the demand for labor, especially for unskilled jobs. So that might mean less jobs are available, which means there's extra workers. Not this week coming up, but next week I'm going to have you guys write a paper on the minimum wage and talk about how it's both beneficial and harmful to workers. And that's it. So you guys get some practice problems to do on Google. So you're going to fill those out in a Google form. There's a PDF with the graphs and all the stuff that you need to do on them. So you can fill those out. If you have any questions, email me and let me know.